tell me what you're doing here.
Let's flip a coin. Heads I tell you, tails we go out on a date.
Warning, Otaku contains adult language and discussion. If you're easily offended, do not continue to listen. It's over 9,000!
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of... Wait. Yes, this is another episode of Otaku, but it's also the beginning of something new, something better. We've evolved from Otaku, much like a Pokemon, to now we are known as Otalku Force.
So this is our second generation.
Yes, this is our second generation. We've evolved to the second form, much like Frieza. This is not our final form yet.
Not yet.
But it's much cooler looking than Frieza's second form.
But do we have a Megastone?
Not yet. We're still looking for one.
Okay.
So, this being the first inaugural episode under the new moniker Otalku Force. So, for this grand show, we have, as always, my brother from the Philippines, Mr. David Sabal.
Hello, everybody.
On the ethereal mic, we have Reina, all the way from the state that is apparently always on fire.
It's hot. What's up, guys?
And as always, joining us now a permanent spot on the show is my lovely wife, the Miss KCB.
I can't ever say no, not to that face.
Oh,
That is so cute.
Oh,
He doesn't even know what to say after that.
I'm just blushing. So, as always, you can find us on RainmanDigitalMedia.com, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. For once, I fucking nailed them on the first go.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
See,
That
you're
new moon energy.
evolving. Just like
See,
what you
we
said.
evolved
You're
to where
evolving.
now I remember exactly what we're on for our show. So today we're coming at you with our new format again. 2 shows, 3 episodes. And today we've got 2 good ones, in my opinion. One follows, actually, I don't know if, David, I don't know if you picked up on this, but the first one we're going to talk about, which is Megaloblox, is actually a kind of a, I don't want to say retelling, but kind of a futuristic version of one of Japan's popular shows and manga, Ashita no Joe, or Tomorrow's Joe.
Yeah.
So Megaloblox, which came out on the 50th anniversary of Ashita no Joe.
Ashita no Joe.
Megaloblox is about a bored, resigned, and unfulfilled young man with neither name nor past survives by fighting in underground matches of a sport called Megaloblox, a form of boxing that utilizes powered exoskeletons. Calling himself Junk Dog, he feels trapped in a world of crime, poverty, and ecological collapse. All that changes when he has a chance encounter with Yuri, the reigning king of Megaloblox. Now obsessed with proving himself, Junk Dog becomes a man driven to do whatever it takes to fight his way to the top of the rankings and take on the champion. So this is essentially, real quick, for those who have seen Ashita no Joe, even Hajime no Ippo, which is another boxing anime from Japan. This takes a lot from Ashita no Joe, and it's actually kind of cool with what it kind of was.
It's almost like a cross of an actual sports anime, because like the thing that a lot in the Japanese anime world I notice is like when they do something that ties into a sport, they really focus on making the sport real. Like here, when you do a story of a sport, they kind of overblow it. They kind of, hyper realize it. But in Japan, it's almost kind of like the opposite, where they say, no, we're going to take the elements that are real in the sport and just hyper realize that. The scoring, the knockout, the technique. And that's why I was really psyched to actually cover this, because it is almost like a spiritual successor to 2 of the best boxing anime.
Well, it was even when they had the 50th anniversary of Ashita no Joe, they had a gallery showing, and that's where they kind of brought up that this was in the works. So this is something that's very close to it, and I mean it's even like I said, kind of almost a retelling or kind of an reimagining. Yeah,
and the thing that I was a little concerned with fans in this one is like people might see this and just think, oh, it's another fighting type of shonen type of anime, right? But there's so much more to Megaloblox
than just the boxing,
than just the fighting, fighting element.
we'll get into everybody's thoughts on it in a moment. So this was directed by Moriyama, and actually this is his first directing credit. The production company is TMS Entertainment, which is actually one of Japan's oldest and most famous anime studios. They've worked on series such as Lupin the Third, films such as Golgo 13, Akira, and then other series. They did Ashita no Joe 2 and Magic Knight Ray Earth.
Yeah.
So for the voice actors, for Junk Dog, the Japanese voice actor was Yoshimasa Hosoya, who was Reiner Braun in Attack on Titan, John Humare in Aldnoah Zero, and Fumikage Tokoyami in My Hero Academia. Kaji Tang did the English voice. He voiced Retsu and Restu in Baki, and Aikawa in Doro Hidoro. And then his coach, Nanbu, is voiced by Shiro Saito, who did Sorube in Dragon Ball Super. He also did voices in Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke. The English voice is Jason Manocha, who did Gus from Carol and Tuesday, which is one of the Netflix animes. Kaicho Nijimura in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and he also voiced Megatron in Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy.
You want to know a sad thing? That's where I recognize that
From
voice.
Transformers?
From Transformers. It was Megatron.
I couldn't make out what it was. He just sounded like a grizzled like boxing coach to me. So kind of want to get Casey, your thoughts on the show first.
Because I was sitting here listening, and Dave was like, "Yeah, it's not just a fighting anime," and I'm like, over here, I'm like, but I loved it because it was just that. One of my favorite genre of like action films is like 80s, 90s trash, and this gave me all of that love. Like it's like it meshed like Total Recall with friggin' Bloodsport, and I was here for it. Like, and it was a one-eyed boxer. Like the guy had one eye, heart one. I was digging it. And then
Raina.
It took me a minute. The first episode I wasn't quite grabbed quite yet, but the second, I'd say by the end of the third episode, I was kind of sad that I was done watching it to move on to the other one. But yeah, I dug it. I dug all the action. That's what I'm about. From beginning to the end, it was always there. And there was always a different scenario going on with the action, whether it was, violent fighting or some kind of mafia shit going on. I was digging it.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I really liked about this. Like, kind of, Casey, you kind of said it. Like, it's got that 80s, 90s like action film type of vibe. Like, you have like Nanbu, who's like his coach, who has like he's missing an eye, so he's that one eye, he's that eye patch like boxing coach who knows like how to like train a winner, and like he's trying to get Junk Dog to kind of listen to him. And
yeah, because I liked it so much that I kept watching. Like I watched ahead, and it just it gets so good.
Well, I like the fact that you brought up Bloodsport, because that's the movie that I thought.
Oh my god! Like,
comparing this,
well, because like the fight scenes, like when the blood would come out and it was thick, because it's like that was like. For me, that was like the first time I ever saw like blood like that. And so then like when I saw it go thick like that, I was like, oh, that's like Bloodsport blood.
And Raina, so you said like the first episode didn't kind of grab you. Like, was it just like the pacing of the first episode, or like what was like, how did you go from like not being grabbed to like the end, like just like to the third episode kind of basically already having you hooked in?
This is going to sound so snooty, but okay. So I don't mind the 80s animation. I do dig that, but it seemed kind of clunky in some scenes. Like there was one scene where they were walking down the stairs and the first person view was just really awkward looking. And I was like, this is cheap. But I didn't see that again in the second or third episode. It's like it got better. So, I was like, at first I was kind of put off by that, but then I got over it. The storyline was too good for me to focus on that.
Yeah. And then Casey, I watched ahead just like Casey. And actually I had started this, I'd watched this show a few times, but it was only on subtitled. And then when like Netflix and Funimation like, hey, we have it now and we have the dub, I'm like, well, fuck, all right, here we go. So they rewatched everything again. And
honestly, dude, I mean, like, this is a rare circumstance where the dubbed, actually, I enjoy the dub. I
enjoy the dub just because like
those dubbed kids, those baby kids.
Yeah, the fucking kids were just like, there's like the one kid with like the mouse and he's like a technical genius. And then of course, like you got like the two like, little quick ones that are stealing all the shit,
that's
and you
what
got
makes it,
you got the fat one that's just like, oh, he's not helping with shit. He's over there eating fucking fried squid, and he's just like,
hits all the points though of like all those like fun tacky movies.
Tacky
Those are like,
movies,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like when the drug lord guy had weird glasses, I was like, okay, this is exactly what I need. This is exactly what I need right now.
But I like in the first few episodes they already established what the main goal for Junk is, and for those that have seen Ashita no Joe. When his coach, when Nanbu registers him to be a boxer, he names him Joe. And then he becomes known as Gearless Joe because in his fights, he doesn't have the exoskeleton, the gear to fight. So he's like, we're going to go at it without any gear. It's going to be your gimmick. It's going to how you get people's attention.
It worked though. That's Vince
it
McMahon.
worked, yeah.
Oh yeah,
shit.
and it works. But then what I noticed, and David, I don't know if you picked up on this, but like his like kind of, when he does like his like signature punches, it's very Ashita no Joe. It's very
Ashita
what
no
they
Joe.
like how like he stands and like it stops and like somehow like the the wind whirls like real quick when he steps down and then he gives that one swing.
Yeah, and it almost kind of has a very stylized. It turns into like a manga page.
Yeah, it turns into like that very stylized shonen type of fighting where it's like, oh, he's taking a step now. He's like. He's going to do his power move, and he's going to do that. So, yeah. And there's like, oh, my God, he beat the guy. He has no gear on. Holy
His
shit.
eyes like swollen shut.
Yeah. He's beat to shit. Then he comes out, and he delivers like one fucking uppercut, and he's like, I won. And everybody's like, that's fucking impossible. And you're just like, oh, shit, what happens next?
I just wish he wore a hat like Sylvester Stallone, and he just turned it around.
Yeah, you something like that.
Like that, you know?
Like the 80s action hero.
And fucking over the top.
Yeah.
Where you expect like the 80s action hero to all of a sudden get the crap kicked out of him. And it's just one punch or one gunshot that saves the day.
Yeah.
They do it so well though. Like it's not like you don't feel like they're forcing it. Like it goes along with everything, you know?
That's what makes this that's what made this series for me when I started watching, because I just like you guys, I watched ahead because like the
want to find out.
The series was
they
really
leave you
good.
on cliffhangers too.
Yeah,
hardcore.
They do really good with that though.
Yeah,
but see, it got you to keep watching though, right?
That's how they get you.
It got you to keep watching.
I did go to episode 4. I didn't just stop at 3, but I could have gone a lot more.
So if for the listeners, if you can't tell already, we're all going to recommend this show because we've all watched ahead. We're all going to go back and finish it because we want to know what happened.
Perfect. It's a perfect Bender one though.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's like it's a good smooth. Like you could bang that out in a weekend. What's
even nice, and this was because I don't know, was like 2 weeks ago, Raina, like where you messaged me asking me like which streaming service was worth it. And, and for your daughter, I said, well, does she prefer subtitled or dubbed? And you said dubbed, and I said, well, Funimation it is. Because it has a ton. It's all of it, most of it is dubbed. And you know, I mean, it has this now too, which is great because if you don't have Netflix, you can still watch it. That's one
she
reason
wanted
I liked
Funimation. She pretty much asked for that, but I was like, okay, let me find out.
Confirm with my sources. It's funny because we always joke around like on like family stuff. We always joke about how Greg's like the king of anime because he's always just like, oh, let me check on that, and he puts his glasses up.
And then he finds Food Wars.
Girl, I opened it up. So when I put my little tablet on when I was working, I was putting it on to watch, the extra episodes, and I put it on, and the first thing that pops up is Food Wars. I'm like, who's fucking with me?
Well, no, because they just added like the second season or whatever of Food Wars on Netflix, and so now that's their big ad that's one of the shows that they're pushing when you log into the app.
I'm telling you, Casey, it's fantastic.
I watched it. I fell. I watched it. We watched a lot of it, and I think I would do too. I would do season 2.
But the beautiful thing about this particular series with Megalobox is like it's I can't explain it, but it's me and you, Casey, are like on the same page. It hits that weird magic genre.
Because we're gross, David.
Well, because it hits that because and this is a question for everybody on the show today. When you watch those 80s or 90s action films,
you Swayze crazy. Yeah,
you don't watch them for the story. The stories are basic as fuck. But you watch it for the action. You watch Bloodsport to see Van Damme do his fucking spin kick in slow motion and go.
And those chestnut
And
cracking
scream.
butt
Yeah.
cheeks like on Friends.
Yeah. So again, that's why you watch those films. That's why those films still resonate today, because they understood, like, okay, here's the story, but we're gonna put a bunch of entertainment in it.
Yeah.
Like
And
you,
Oh, you
kicks.
got me.
yeah. And like another example, like Total Recall.
Yeah.
You don't watch Total Recall for the story. You watch it for fucking Arnold and him be like, 2 weeks.
Cheeks.
And then it's like, and it's like, fuck you, Cole Hagen. Give these people air. Fuck you, Benny.
Or him just basically screaming and,
Yeah, just his normal, like,
something. And like I don't know how, because a lot of people have tried to get that type of vibe off of a lot
And it
of
comes off
but
cheesy.
It comes off cheesy and,
And-
it just turns people off. But this, it got it right.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, no,
it
but that's
didn't go over.
But that's the thing, is like, it pulls from Ashita no Joe,
yeah.
and I'll even dare to say it pulls probably a little bit from Hajime no Ippo,
Oh, easily.
because it has
I'd
that,
even pull in some Blade Runner too.
yeah, it has that what you somebody say, that cheesy fighting element, because he's a boxer, he's the proverbial underdog, he's Rocky,
Yeah.
but it's more so like if Rocky tried to fight Mike Tyson in his prime,
No,
also with
because
Mike
you know
Tyson
what?
having robot arms.
No, because the main guy that he does fight, the Silver Fox,
Yeah.
the hot guy. Well, he's not really hot, but I just imagine he'd be really good looking, like one of those guys that are like, because his cheekbones, he's pretty, like you could tell. But like, I just feel like if you saw him, ow, sorry, that hit my earring.
Casey has new headphones, so we're having
I
a
don't
major
know.
minor
Sorry.
headphone malfunction.
Now I forgot what I was talking about.
You were talking about
Yuri and
the
how hot
silver
he
hair.
was.
Yeah, and how hot he was, his cheekbones.
His hotness made you discombobulated.
I guess so.
But
Wow. Casey
That was my ear.
and she found her anime husbando in this show.
Is that what they're called?
Husbando, yeah. So like, when you pick like if there's a female anime character you like and you say that's my waifu,
Well,
like
yeah,
I call
that's
you
what
my
you asked.
waifu.
Oh my
That's because I was like,
That's
that's
your wife.
is that what you
Husbando
say? Is that what
is
you
the term
call?
for what used for like a male character that you find attractive. Is that's my husbando.
husbando.
Okay.
Casey's just staring.
So Casey and Raina learned a new word today. Husbando. Say it with me now.
And then they wonder why I get trained
Husbando.
off. They get off train. Oh my God.
See, the show.
I'm glad you brought up the old animes about how Joe, well, not how he got his name, but I know maybe this was inspired by the other two animes you guys brought up. But I wanted to know where the fuck he got that name Joe, because I laughed so loud when he was like, Joe. So serious. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And now it makes sense.
Yeah. So Ashita no Joe means tomorrow's Joe, and that's just what the name of the character was, Joe. And so this is, again, kind of like I said, it's almost like
It's
not a retelling, but like
It's an homage.
yeah, it's an homage to it. Thank you, to that show. And I think even the original, the creator from Ashita no Joe helped on this show or worked on.
Yes, he did. I believe he helped with a lot of the
I think the
writing
designs.
and the designs.
So it's got that reasoning, and that's always kind of one thing with like a lot of fighting animes or a lot of fighting animes like this. Like you have Kenshin Ashura, which the main character's name is just very basic. Even Baki.
Oh, Baki, yeah.
It's just Baki. I mean, his full name is Baki Hanma, but everybody just calls him Baki, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, why is okay, Baki, whoop-de-doo, like that's what makes that name special. But it's the character that does it.
It adds to the mystique of like what you were saying is he's the underdog, and the underdog has to kind of become like everybody. So taking a name as simple as Joe, simple as Baki, simple as even like what he chooses in this one is
Junk dog.
Junk
like it's
dog.
just, it doesn't mean anything. And there,
it doesn't
he
mean
even says a
anything,
line.
but we
when
as the audience can connect to it.
even with like he fights Yuri, and Yuri goes, "What's your name?" So we can put it on your tombstone. And he goes, "Nobody gives stray dogs a grave." Like you said, nobody buries stray dogs or gives them a tombstone.
And see, like that is like what Casey was saying is like,
because now I remember
the one-liners of all 80s
it's just
films
one
where
the I'll break you moment,
I'll
like
break
that,
you
like because
moment.
that's what I remembered it because the silver haired guy totally looks like the bad guy from Rocky, like
Yeah.
like
Drago.
he
He's also-
but that's exactly what.
But
you know?
he's also got that.
It came to me. I'm
everybody
getting old.
chants his name like Yuri, like Yuri.
You know what I
it's
got?
it's just like fucking Chong Li in
Chong Li.
Bloodsport.
And like,
You know.
when
Sorry,
Chong
that
Li
was
looks
horrible.
at him and says, "You broke my record. Now I break you."
Yeah.
Like I broke your
So-
friend. And I'm like going, that character is just a homage to like Chong Li from
Well,
from
and Yuri
Bloodsport.
Yuri is all those villains in one, and kind of with the Shida no Joe and this, they're even saying that the whole point was to create a show with a protagonist that everybody can relate to, that everybody can find something relatable to, because he doesn't have some elaborate name or some backstory. He's just named Junk Dog, then Joe. He's a fighter, doesn't have really a past, and he just wants to prove that he's the best.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such an old thing with, you know, that guy looked at me weird, so I'm going to go kick his ass. So he's going to go kick his ass. He's going to kick 257 people's asses
Yeah,
to
and
kick his.
I think that's why we all got the kind of the 80s, 90s action film vibe.
Well, I like the fact that you brought up the whole Rocky story because at its core, that's the type of storytelling that really makes this anime series really flourish is because like it's the underdog character. It's the character that came from nothing. We all basically look at that and say, hey, we kind of connect to characters like that where we come from nothing. We want to become something. And then suddenly we start cheering for it. It's like even in the wrestling, like in WWE, like how me and you talk about a lot, the storytelling in that is very simplistic, but it works because it connects to the audience. Like say like Daniel Bryan.
Oh yeah. Because you have those characters that build that relationship with the audience. You even have, and I'm gonna go over to Japan and bring up a wrestler that you and I admire a lot, who retired last year, was Jushin Thunder Liger.
Oh, admire is not what he's. To me, he's almost kind of like a mythic character.
Oh no, he is the Beast God.
He is
like,
the Beast God.
He is the king of the Super Junior heavyweights. He's the pioneer, the founder of all that. But he was a wrestler that you could always get behind.
Yeah.
No matter what. But it was because of his personality, because of him, and not so much the storylines. It was that character. So much like in Megaloblox, you can get behind Junk Dog. You want to find out what happens. You want to find out, does he win? Is he going to beat Yuri? Is he going to become the Megaloblox champion?
And not only that, not only do we want to see like, does he win? We want him to win.
Oh yeah,
we don't want him at the end of this to lose to Yuri because like that would be like soul shattering, you know. It touches.
Well, we didn't get to the point with because there's so much more onto the story than just that simple him and Yuri. Because if he does lose, everyone else around him dies.
Exactly.
Like there's the more details of that go out towards the end.
And that's what's nice about, and that's one thing I liked about the show.
Snap.
Go ahead. What was that, Raina?
I just said, oh, snap.
Oh, I was like, Raina's like trying to get a word, and she's like, oh shit, everybody's talking. It's, you have Joe's story, and then you have Nanbu, who's connected to that because he has essentially the mafia's backing to go and do this.
Yes.
And then you have the kid,
Which is like,
have-
that is the nicest drug dealer dude. Like, he's like, hey, I'm going to get you a house too so you could train. Is that cool? Like, that
but
doesn't
you've got,
happen.
but then he's like, but you've got,
you know?
He's like, but you got 3 months. That cool?
Right?
We
Yeah.
good with those
I'll give
terms?
you time. I won't
Nicest
hassle
drug
you
dealer
about
ever.
it. Like,
Right.
hey, but if you lose, I'm going to kill you. Okay?
And like, and the thing is that more than likely down the road, there's going to be something where he comes in and he's like, you're going to take a dive. Okay, we got money on this.
You think.
You think, but because
No.
judging by the beginning of it, you have that, and they're like, well, shit. And I'm thinking like, shit, if it comes to that, is Joe going to be like, well, fuck you, no, I'm going to do my thing. And then he has to deal with the mafia, but
they have so many of the moments where
Yeah.
it's like slow arm grab in the air. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's slow going. And so real quick before we move on to our second show, I'm going to get a quick round of recommendations, starting with Raina. Raina, would you recommend this show?
I'm going to go with hell yes.
We got a hell yes. Casey?
I'm going to second that hell yes.
We got 2 hell yes. David?
You got a third hell yes.
All right, in the immortal words of Stone Cold Steve Austin, we all recommend this, and that's the bottom line because fucking Dark Side said so. Wow, that's probably the best Stone Cold I've done
There you go.
ever. So,
Bravo.
thank you. My impressions are finally starting to pay off. And so for our next show, we're going to switch gears, and we're not so much going to do another fighting one, but we're going to do something more to the season. So bear with us for 1 second, guys. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to reveal our next show when we come back. All right, guys, we are back on Otaku Force. We just got done talking about Megaloblox and left you kind of on a cliffhanger, much like the episodes of Megaloblox, on what show number 2 is for today. That show is in keeping with the fact that it is the spooky season.
Yeah.
It is Halloween.
Ooh.
It is now officially October, and Halloween is now in full force. Haha, see what I did there? Worked in the...
Oh, God.
Yep, there we go. All right. We're going to be talking about a show called Parasyte, The Maxim. So Parasyte is about Shinichi Izumi, is a normal high school schoolboy whose right hand has become infected with an alien parasite that names itself Miggy, or Right.
Right.
Miggy is the first parasite to develop a symbiotic relationship with its host as he and Shinichi slowly develop a grudging friendship. Miggy isn't the only parasite on Earth, however, and as cases of parasites killing humans begin to emerge, humans seek to kill off parasites. Shinichi and Miggy find themselves caught in between these two sides of the struggle over the planet Earth. Dun, dun, dun. So, real quick, the director of this is Kenichi Shimizu, also another first directing credit. The production company is Madhouse, who has done Trigun, Hajime no Ippo, The Fighting, and Record of Lodoss War. Voice actors are, for Shinichi, Japanese is Nobunaga Shimazaki, who was Tsukasa Fuji in the movie Your Name, Yu-Gi-Oh! In Sword Art Online, Yuki Soma in Fruits Basket, Adam Gibbs as the English voice. He voiced Ryo in Seven Seeds, Seta in Grave of the Fireflies, the Sentai Filmworks release, and Yuki Anzai in Devil's Line. The parasite Miggy in Japan is played by Aya Hirano, who did Misa Amane in the Death Note anime, Dende in Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods, and Haruhi Suzumiya in The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. English is Brittany Karbowski, who did Wendy Marvel in Fairy Tail, Yuhei Jinnoichi in Summer Wars, and Koruri in Seven Seeds. Now, I'm going to start with you, Casey, on this, because you watched this and you took notes on this one.
I did.
And you had some, fucking awesome little one-liners as we watched this. So I want to get your take on the show first.
So, I don't want to say the same thing I said before because it gave me the 80s horror film vibes on this one. Like it gave, I loved
Like the
Idle
Flame?
Hands, like, you know, all that's in early 2000s, but it gave, parasites are my biggest fear ever. Like I cannot, like, so when Greg's like, we're going to do this show called Parasyte, and I'm like, if they start digging stuff in there, I'm going to be pissed. So I already went in there with a bad attitude, but then they start showing it, and then like the parasite's actually cute. Oh my God. They won me over. Like, it was like The Odd Couple, you know, like, so I loved it.
And Raina, what was your first reaction when you watched this?
Hooked me immediately because of the gore. I was so excited. I was so excited over the first scene. I rewound it, grabbed my daughter and said, you have to watch this. And she loved it. So yeah, the gore and because you're going to get a lot of gore with all of these scenes because they're parasites, you know, fighting each other. So I loved it.
I was super surprised they fought each other. I thought that they would be like, because normally when you have a parasite, they're all like, it's very one-sided.
That hive mind.
Good guy. Yeah. So I was really surprised when they're like, when it said it wants to attack us, we must leave. It's like, what? I like that part of it.
There's a reason for it.
Well, I did. So I didn't watch. I watched a couple ahead, but I didn't watch. But the fact that I watched ahead on most of these shows, you picked really good shows.
Raina, your daughter that you pulled in to watch this, was that the one that got the horror manga The Jujutsu
Yes.
Kaisen? Okay.
Yes.
I was like, wait a minute. Is this the one you had to read Jujutsu Kaisen? So I'm like, of course she loved it because she's reading fucking Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes.
I just read one of my notes and it was like, use me with care. Same Parasyte. Same. It was a line from the show.
Oh my God.
And David.
I was actually very excited to watch this anime series. This is the first time I've ever seen it, but I actually knew about this series back in the 90s because I actually have read the original manga since Tokyo Pop when back in 1992.
Yeah.
And this was actually my first horror anime that I ever read a long time ago. So I was
gonna say, if you're about to say it's the first horror anime I ever watched, I'm like, David, where were you the last two fucking shows?
No, the horror
He was
manga.
asleep.
I know. He was asleep.
He was asleep.
This particular series has always stuck with me, and I always loved it because it took an element that I loved from a movie that has absolutely influenced me as a filmmaker, which is John Carpenter's The Thing. The whole Parasyte element, and turned it on its head, because when you get further into it, Miggy is freaking awesome. But the reason why Miggy is the way he is actually really hilarious too.
So we'll have to watch ahead, because I think
I plan to.
Oh, I plan to as well.
I mean, that's got to show you something.
Yeah.
That I plan on watching it and not being forced to.
Yeah, like this manga absolutely influenced how I look at horror films and stuff like that. So that's how really excited I was to actually, when you sent me the word, hey, we're covering the latest Parasyte Maxim, I'm like going, I've been wanting to watch this anime for years because I just wanted to have an excuse to watch it again.
Well, I'm glad I gave you permission then, David. I'm glad.
You gave me a reason.
I gave you a reason.
Inspiration.
I inspired you.
You inspired me, Greg.
I'd always seen this anime, and I'm like, man, I should check that out, because I keep hearing about it. I'm like, okay. And the only thing that kind of like got that kind of, I don't want to say weirded me out, but I'm just like, fuck. Like,
you saw the swirling headed dude in the cover, and you're like, I don't know about this, man. I don't know about this.
I would see Shinichi's hand like with Miggy, like when Miggy takes over his right hand and kind of
his dick fingers, yeah.
And it's like I'm going there, I'm like,
oh man.
I'm like, I don't know, like I kind of, it's almost like I think I know where this is gonna go, and I'm like, I'm fine with it, I'm good, I'm all right.
The joke's for itself.
I've seen Oritsuki Doji. I don't need to see a tamed version. I'm fine. But I thought it was funny. For me, and we'll go around again, kind of everyone's opinion on Shinichi himself. There are points where I'm like, dude, just fucking shut up. Just like play it cool. Like every time, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
He's very jumpy.
But Greg, you have an alien that in your
Right?
hand.
Well, no, but
I freak out.
No, not that. I'm talking about like when he's like, we need to do something. We need to fight back. And it's like, yes, I get that, dude. I'm totally all for it. But have to try and convince. There's
always that person in the horror movie. It just so happens
he's the one else
when
who
we
has a
got sucked up
parasite.
to a dumb bitch, he's gonna go running towards the fire. Like,
Yeah.
he picked the wrong girl.
And then and one thing I hope is like Miggy, like as the episodes progress, kind of learns more and understands Shinichi's like standpoint, because like in the first 3 episodes they're just bickering back and forth, and I'm like,
and then it's like sleep. That was
I'm
tired.
I'm tired. I sleep now.
Well,
Yes.
I could,
Which reminds me a lot of myself. Like when we go to bed at night, it's like, okay, good night.
the not to give away any spoilers, but the relationship between Miggy and Shinichi it gets really good.
Okay.
Because there's more to it than just basically him and dealing with the alien.
Mm-hmm.
They go into, and they kind of hint at it with the first 3 episodes, how Miggy has to get used to human life.
Well, yeah,
when he talks about feelings, he's like, I don't understand what, like, the way he asks those questions.
Those things are stupid.
Right? I'm like,
I sleep now.
I sleep now.
I
feel a connection. I feel like I act just like him sometimes.
The only thing that now that I think about when he's like, I sleep now, is the what's the character from Mandalorian that Nick Nolte voiced?
This is the way.
Oh my god!
No,
Yeah, I forgot the name.
I can't remember the character, but like now it's the same thing. Like, fuck, what if like Miggy ended up being voiced by Nick Nolte? Just like
Oh,
and just
shit.
like a bunch of like I just picture the little dude with the little hair and the whiskers.
yeah, Nick Nolte's character. He's just like, but except it's Miggy's like, well, I'm gonna sleep now, and then just falls asleep.
I feel like it just loses I feel like if his voice was like that, that's when I would be a little.
It would take you out of it.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh my God, okay.
But I like that it's like kind of random what you mentioned, the gore. But I like that it doesn't feel like it's gore for gore's sake.
No.
Like it shows the difference between the parasites and humans.
It's done with taste.
Yeah.
Tasteful.
I think the only thing I didn't like was when the dog turned into a weird bat creature.
I know.
And then he like took out the dog's heart. He's like, I have to take the heart. And then the parasite dies. And I'm like, but the dog dies too, you piece of shit.
No, that was when, because I have like a strict rule. Like, I still have never seen the scene in John Wick where I'm like, I know a dog did die, but I don't want to see that.
I fast forward through that part.
But
whenever
so like,
we watch
as
it.
soon as I saw the dog, I was like, God damn it, Gregory! I said, I'll do this podcast. Just no dogs. Don't make me watch this shit.
And in my defense, when I watched it, I didn't know that was going to happen. So I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like,
but then it had the demon face.
Yeah, that makes it's like, oh, it's got a demon face. Piece of shit, fucking parasite.
But listen,
the
best part was though, because when he had the big mouth and he turned to the side, you always think a Demogorgon like weird like pod mouth is scary.
Yeah.
But you turn it to the side, they look stupid. Like it looked like a sunflower seed. It was
it's just like,
oh my God, I
probably would have been more pissed about the dog if I heard a whimper, like it was wanting to be free from the host.
Right,
that would have pissed me off.
Yeah, and the thing about the dog thing that I like, because I was waiting for that scene because that's from the manga too. And that gave me the vibes of like The Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, remember I know you saw The Thing.
Yeah,
Greg,
I just watched it like 2 weeks ago too.
With the scene with the dogs getting consumed.
Yeah, where he's like shooting out like little weird ropes and tentacles and shit.
I hate it. Because I watched that stuff as a kid. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's why I watch it by myself, because I know how like she feels by that. I don't want her to watch that, but like, I love John Carpenter's The Thing. It's been the basis of a lot of stuff. Like Venom took off of it like in the series from like the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's one of those movies that's like iconic, and also it's got fucking Kurt Russell in it. So you can't fucking say no.
Russell so
to fucking
damn
Kurt
much.
Russell, and it's also got Mr. fucking Diabetes himself, Wilford Brimley.
Oh shit!
Russell could play Homie from Megla. I feel like he could have totally played it like a young version.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
Raina, I guess your other thoughts on the show, because you like the gore. Like, what else did you like about it, or what else did you think of it?
I'm glad you asked, because the comedy was hard hitting in this. It was actually really good. I mean, can we talk about the scene where Miji makes him jerk himself off?
Yes.
I'm trying to get your sex organ erect.
I wrote boner jokes. That was my note. I was like, oh, boner joke.
But I like that Mickey, like when he takes over the right hand and he just does whatever. So he's in the bathroom taking a piss, and then he's sitting there, he's like, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to get your sexual organ erect. Like, what the fuck? Like,
because this makes you feel happy, right?
I mean, if I had a wiener for 24 hours, I'd be like, what is that? What's this like? You know, I mean, it's like, what would you do if you had that? Like,
and the way that Meggie looks at it, he's an alien.
Yeah.
If this makes the host feel good, okay.
We're a team.
But there's a weird thing with an eyeball jerking off your dick.
Yeah. Like when he was walking around and it was like with a little string. I was like,
oh yeah, when he comes through his like his collar line.
Yeah, I was like, you got a little weird.
I thought at that point they were talking like mentally, like he was talking to him like through his brain, so he could just it's little eyeball popping up like, hey,
how's it going?
I've got my eye on you. Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Coming out of my right hand.
And honestly, Miggy is, for the first 3 episodes, he's the highlight of the entire show.
Well, yeah, because he senses them, and then like, in case I think you even put a note on this one when they fight the other parasite, the first one that they run into after the dog, the first human one. What did you put?
Well, because he smiled and he had sharp teeth, and I was like, oh shit. I don't know a lot about anime, but when you got sharp teeth, you're fucked. Like that's a bad guy.
Yeah. And the thing is like, when Miggy senses it, it goes from, I think this is actually really cool about the character, is like, he could go from jokey to all of a sudden Miggy's like dead serious. Like, we have to run.
Yeah.
We rerun now.
I think, and to piggyback off of like what Ryan said about the kind of the comedy, is even like when you meet the Parasyte that's taken over like the math teacher, and she shows and like she meets up with Miggy and Shinichi at like the diner or whatever, and she brings like what is it, like Mr. A is what they call him or whatever.
Yes.
And he's sitting there like she looks perfectly normal. And then he's sitting there and his eyes are just all like, yeah. And then she's like, we had sex last night. Or like, she's like, I'm pregnant. What do you think is inside me? A fucking baby? I don't know.
Well, they showed the weird scene where it was like that they were all they were naked, just like staring at each other. And like the moon or whatever.
Have you guys seen Demolition Man? Before you go into this next part, Raina, have you seen Demolition Man? With Sylvester Stallone. Okay, fair enough. Well, so two people out of this will get my reference. But there's a scene in Demolition Man where Sandra Bullock and Sylvester Stallone, after going to a Taco Bell, come back and she goes, "Do you want to have sex?" And he goes, and Stallone's like, "With me?" "Oh yeah, fuck yeah!" And then she goes and gets headsets. And then she puts it on. He's like, "What the fuck are we doing?" He's like, "We're having sex." "No, we're not." And that's the vibe I got from like the scene at like it was the end of episode 1 or 2, where they're just standing there naked looking at each other. I'm like, are they gonna have Demolition Man sex? Like, are they just gonna look at each other and like?
You say Demolition Man, I think Coneheads. I'm like, you guys gonna put your hands together?
I thought for a second they were going to have weird, like, alien sex or something where, like, you were going to see their fucking parts come out and just start. Yeah.
And then it would enter into, hentai area.
Greg's got to warn me for that. That's, you got to, I made a promise. I'm like, don't be springing that shit on me.
No, if anything gets close to that, I will warn everybody. I will not be like, I will not have everybody going blind. So. That's that was done to me when I got into anime, and I swore I would never do that to anybody else because the one that I was done to me on was fucking Bible Black.
Nothing wrong with Bible Black.
Shut the fuck up, David.
We should cover Bible.
Yeah, David, you are not the judge on that. I'm gonna
put you in a fucking.
I don't even know
grave.
what that is.
You don't want to.
No, you do.
No, you don't.
Well, now I'm gonna Google it.
Right? Yeah. Worth a Google.
At least I got a fair warning. Like, I can't get mad at you guys now because you said not to look. Well, Dave said to. You said not to, Greg. So
Raina, you've listened to our network for so long. If I say that you should watch it, haven't you learned? If
David recommends something that then is followed by me yelling and swearing at him,
it's gotta be weird if you guys are saying
10-1, maybe not look it up.
Like, wait. If I ask my husband to find this for me, is he going to get excited or divorce me?
I don't think he's going to divorce you. He's going to...
Right? I'm like, I don't know what
I'm going to have to go with David on that answer. It depends on his kink. Or he might just look at you weird going, why do you want to see that? Because if he's seen it, then he knows. He'll be like, it's that otaku show, isn't it? He'll shake his finger at me.
Yeah,
and then I'm going to get it. And then there's going to be an angry message in the fucking otaku message.
Just remember to address that to Greg, who is our host.
God damn it.
Dear
I swear on Mom, I'm going to cash in that fucking stabbing. And she'll let me too. I have permission. So back to Parasyte.
Thank you. Redirecting. Back to Parasyte. No Bible Black.
That's what I thought. And then like now I'm thinking of them like putting out their alien parts.
What are you talking about?
Like the fucking math teacher has like the weird hair shit. I don't know what Mr. A's thing was.
Well,
but his was like the weird, like his head all like.
But I just thought that maybe that was going to happen. So,
not as I said, I don't want to give up too much because they've in 3 episodes they barely covered what would happen in the manga.
Or no, I thought you were talking about
when I stopped at 3. The problem for me was I knew what was going on, but to say like someone who comes in blind doesn't know the story at all, I can see where that could be a negative on everything if you just watch it up to episode 3, because there's some really great, crazy things going on. However, they don't get into the full details until you get further on into the story and learn more about the alien species and how they view humanity, why Miggy is special, and how it connects to Shinichi and everything. And in the 3 episodes, I was like you. I'm like going, I know for a fact if I was a layman and I got right, I stopped here. I'd be like, going, what the hell is going on?
But you've read it, so you know what goes on with it.
Yeah.
And then, but what I think is funny is the math teacher at the end of everything, at the end of episode 3, he's like, oh, she's no more. Like, I have to, like, because you find out the parasites can change their face.
Yes.
They change their look. She's like, I have to become somebody else now. And then she kills like the lady's mom. And you're just like, well, shit. Like, how do you really catch any of them or like find out about any? Like, they keep changing their face. And then that's when you're like, oh, that's where Miggy comes in. He can sense them.
Yeah.
But every time like they've ran into another parasite, they're like, oh, you haven't taken over your host's brain? Well, join me and we'll.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is where things start getting weird, and you see the horror elements at this point, because then you're like, the whole series up to this point in episode 3, you're like looking at Miggy and you're like, he's cute.
He's so cute
and he's nice. But then when you get further along, you're like, wait a minute, all these parasites took over their host. And you look down at Miggy and you're like, why didn't you take over?
Because
he
can't.
He stopped him.
He trapped him in his arm, because remember
trapped him in his arm.
Yeah,
he tied him off. Exactly. He looked like he was about to like fucking,
So he can't. He said he couldn't.
Yeah, because he tied him
If
off.
he eats his brain, he dies.
Yeah, he's like, I stopped you in my right arm. Like,
and that's the thing that's what makes the relationship between those two really weird. And a lot of people say, like, when you look at Parasyte, it's horror based on gore factor, but to me, it's horror based on weirdness.
well, yeah, because it's not so much like the gore isn't anything that is outrageous or anything that would be worse than any horror film like that I've seen, that you've seen. I think that any of us have seen, because
it's like watching literally the old show, The Odd Couple. Put it in Parasyte thing. They're not sharing an apartment. They're sharing a host. And, insert gore there. Like, they do it just like that, and insert that fact that he's a teenager. Shenanigans are going to arise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Awkward teenager, too.
Yeah, he is super awkward. That booby grab when he grabbed her
that
boob.
was hilarious.
And then like next day he's like, pancakes. So I'm like, dude, if I could get a pancake for every weird dude that grabbed my boobie, like, man, that would be awesome.
And see, he can blame it on his hand.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I just like that this is a trope that's in every type of anime.
Oh yeah.
It's like the random like accidental booby grab.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, I didn't mean to. Why is my hand still here? And why am I twitching it? It's never like, oh shit. It's always like, oh, what is this? Dude. That is soft. Oh shit, I'm sorry. I'm touching your tit. I'm so sorry. Pancakes?
Pancakes.
Cakes.
But even when you meet the math teacher, that character, like some dude on the train tries to grab her, trying to grab her ass, and she just like fucking calls him out in front of everybody. And he's like, what do you think, you bitch? I didn't do anything. And then he gets thrown out the train. And then she's like, humans.
Yeah,
But
even parasites don't like butt grabs. Fucking math teachers. Those are my notes.
and she has a notepad. She sat there with a notepad taking notes. And
It's because I was doing 4 things at once. So,
but it was fucking hilarious. Like the one-liners she took down were awesome, and like everything she pointed out was fucking hilarious. And I think,
well, there were a lot of hilarious things to point out in this.
Oh yeah, there was. Yeah, I don't think there was a shortage of it. Like, I think, what was it, the first male parasite you meet, which I don't even know if that's Mr. A or not, that you meet, where he saves the girl from the 3 thugs, and then he runs up and they hit him in the head with a baseball bat, and he's just like, well, I guess I have to kill all of you now. And then I
know it was him because he had that swirly, his body turned into like a swirl that swung around and just sliced everyone to pieces.
I'm wondering how he went from, like, because there he seemed pretty put together, to like the weird googly eye, like,
I just can't.
I'm definitely a human taken over by an alien parasite.
But they all have different things. Like every episode, they just kept showing, like, they would do like the claws, and then like you just keep seeing which alien, like what's the next thing you're going to see, like what are their powers, you know what I mean? It's just, that was cool.
It took,
I think the math teacher, her hair blades are probably sponsored by Pantene Pro V, so no split ends on her.
It took the idea of body horror and gave it characteristics. That's what I really like about it.
And it just wasn't like they deformed for no reason. Like it works into the host.
Into the host.
So, the math teacher, hers, like it's her hair and she like kind of splits open, like her head kind of.
Her boobs.
I was expecting that. Can I say that I was a little like, I honestly was like, oh, okay.
It's her hair.
How refreshing.
Right.
Her hair
so
is
it's
pretty.
not her. Because then it's just like, how would her tits do it? It's just like fucking spiral, like stabby titties.
Well, that's been done. What was that, Night of the Demons?
I think so.
The
Yeah.
Night of the Demons, the remake? Yeah,
Yeah.
She had
drill tits.
Yeah, well, they weren't drill tits,
Oh
but they were like the, well, she ripped the tits off too. There was that dance scene.
Oh, yeah.
With the lipstick one where she makes it disappear.
Magic.
Yeah, girl.
So, going around the room again to wrap up this first inaugural episode of the new Otaku or Otalku Force. David.
Definitely recommend. I put the asterisks on it that just telling our audience, you have to watch more than 3 episodes. This is one that in 3 episodes, you're going to feel confused a little bit, but it's good.
But you're going to want to watch more to find out
You're going to want to watch more what happens.
Casey, would you recommend this to our listeners?
Absolutely.
Raina.
After this show, I'm going to watch the rest of it. So yes.
Okay, perfect. And I will echo everybody and recommend this as well. We are all of hive mind. One of us.
So does that mean I could be your parasite?
No, shut the fuck up, David. That was a joke. No.
Oh, shit.
No. David, you and I have been friends, what, 10 years?
Yeah.
Longer?
Yeah, but
Wasn't
pretty much
that like
longer.
the conjoined
Yeah,
twins? Wasn't it? Didn't they marry? Weren't they married to like 2 guys that were like brothers or something like that?
I think so. I don't remember. Me and David
So just picture me attached to you, Greg.
You and I have
Hi,
spent
Greg.
I have spent way too much time together. That's why we're fucking family now. So no, I'm not going to jerk him off. He can do that on his own. He's also got Barb for that. So.
No, if I'm part of your body, I can help you with
is
your
going
arm.
God damn it,
I can
David.
help you with your arm.
Oh God.
What is it, Greg? Oh, sure, dude. Okay.
No. I every once in a while I question why you're my co-host, and then I forget, and then I get reminded, and then I don't regret.
You know you like
but then
it.
I sometimes think about why.
I'm your Maggie.
Well, everybody, this has been Otaku Force. I want to thank Raina for joining us. I hope,
Thank you.
Raina, you're safe out there and that the fires are nowhere near you.
No, they're not. I'm good.
Oh, good. All right, perfect. So that means you'll be able to join us for on another show. Hopefully,
Yes.
by then the state won't be on fire. Casey, as always, thank you so much for joining us, and glad you're enjoying the shows that we're watching, and slowly turning you into an anime fan.
Don't tell anybody.
No,
Don't tell anybody, guys.
None of your friends are going to hear this, so it's fine. Then we come to
I
find
don't
out
care.
all your friends listen to. So, and David, as always, God, yeah. Now I'm like,
You two already talked enough, you and David, on
and
this
my
show.
Miggy.
You're
As always-
welcome.
All right, everybody. Again, I'm Gregor Darkside Holmes for Otaku Force. Again, you can find us on RaymanDigitalMedia.com, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. Be safe, stay healthy, have a great night. We'll see you next time.